Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train. What is up? This is One and Done, your fast break for all things college basketball. I am the conductor of the aforementioned Green Screens train. My name is Jay Heinrich. You can follow me on Twitter at Dr. William Cannon for shitposting, baseball card talk, video games, and a whole lot of other crap. Go ahead and find me there. On tonight's show, my brothers in basketball flanking me tonight. Spend a few minutes with Eastern Washington head coach David Riley, and we're going to premiere that interview right at the top of the show. We've got 5 new commitments in the newly expanded top 300 over at drroto.com, including El Numero Uno on that board, Hunter Dickinson finding a home. And we're going to give you 5 recent under-the-radar mid-major commitments from that portal. So let me get to my brothers in basketball. First of all, the Baron of Bread at Green Screens Media, Eric the Blue. You can reach him on those Twitter streets at FantasyNav. He is Eric Romoff. Eric, what's happening?
Man, back at it again. We're going to hear from David Riley here in a little bit. And it just kind of got me thinking, right? Like this great American road trip, this GSM road trip is off and running. We got some conversations under our belt. So I know that everyone that is watching this right now is certainly subscribed and has watched every single bit of content that we've produced. But if one slipped through the cracks, as a reminder, we have sat down with the UC Irvine head coach, Russell Turner, with Stan Johnson of Loyola Marymount. We've chatted some Pacific Tigers hoops with Coach Perry. We've had St. Mary's head coach, Randy Bennett, Pepperdine head coach, Lorenzo Romar, all already in the archives there on our YouTube channel, and many, many more to come. We've got Coach Pope lined up next week. We have got Coach Lavin lined up next week. So if you're wanting to hear from the source how all of these coaches feel about the season that was, what their outlook is for the season to come, definitely make sure you're checking out all those videos. And like we talked about off the top, we will hear that conversation with Coach Riley tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well done, Eric. They're talking about all the stuff that we've done. Hope you can find it on our page, and we know you can. And now, 6'6" out of North Carolina, he is the captain of the Green Screen ship, El Capitan himself. You can follow him on Twitter at MCHolland34. Mike Holland, Mr. Money Mike, what it do, baby?
Hey, 6'1", all right? Well, maybe 6'1.5". I'm doing good, man. I'm excited about this interview that we're about to play. It was a lot of fun talking to Coach Riley. You know, we just posted the top 300 on drroto.com. That's our transfer big board. On Monday, the 15th, will be the final edition of the top 300. No more than 300 are going to happen. So we're going to have that final board up. And, we'll go through mid-May and maybe even June to finish this thing out. But a lot of commitments have already been made. We'll talk about some of those a little bit later. And, I'm just excited, Jay.
Rothstein always likes to tweet, we sleep in May. And I quote tweeted one of his quotes earlier, and I said, we sleep in never worry, baby. That's what we're doing over here at Green Screens Media. So, like the boys alluded, that interview with Eastern Washington head coach David Riley. Coach was kind enough to give us a few minutes of his time over here on One and Done. And we are going to lead off with Coach Riley here right now. So enjoy my brothers in basketball talking with Eastern Washington head coach David Riley.
Introduce today's special guest, the head coach of the Eastern Washington Eagles, Coach David Riley. Thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Doing good. Happy to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you here. You've been putting together something pretty special there in Eastern Washington. And Coach, we want to, first off, congratulate you on a very nice second season last year. The program was able to capture the Big Sky regular season championship. So I want to know from you, kind of looking back at the year, right? Sort of a roller coaster ride. Started off 4-7, had a nice 18-game win streak right there in the middle of the season. And unfortunately dropped 4 out of 5 to close the year. So just kind of wanted to get your key takeaways from the past season. What are some of the things that you maybe learned about your program?
The big thing was just letting our making sure you let your team find its identity. Especially the way we play. We give our guys a lot of freedom to make plays and play their own style offensively, and so it takes us a little more time. And we took our lumps early, but we didn't skip any steps, and that really led us to having a pretty damn good foundation once we hit Big Sky play. And then we had an incredible season. We had some injuries and some bad luck down the stretch, but that's why they call it March Madness. It was a crazy game at the end, and we were just lucky enough to have such a good season that we got to go to the NIT and have a big win versus Washington State, which it was a great way to end things. And but yeah, back to your point, just the biggest thing was kind of not skipping any steps and really hammering home that foundation early.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch you during that 18-game win streak there. Before we move forward to the offseason and future of your program, can you kind of take us back to the start of your coaching career? You've been a GA at Eastern Washington, director of basketball operations and assistant coach since 2011. So how did coming up through this program prepare you to eventually become the head man and continue the success it's had over the last decade?
Well, I think the great thing is I came in and it was not an established program, right? It was we had to build it from the ground up, and just seeing what success looks like with players, with different seasons. And it was like every year, you pick two or three things that you really like from that year, you stick with that. And then we just kind of built it into what it is today, where now in the last 10 years, we got the most wins, the most championships, go down the list, pretty much been the best team in the Big Sky for the last 10 years. And, when you come up through a program, you learn every little detail of it. And so I think that piece helped me, but really the big thing was just seeing the foundation, how it was laid, and being able to take that blueprint and run with it.
Yeah, Coach, we see some of that hardware creeping over your shoulder in the background, right? And your fingerprints are all over this program and the success that you've had here in the last decade or so. While you are heading into your third season as the head man, that makes you one of the youngest coaches in all of NCAA Division I, right? So I think you've got kind of a unique perspective. So I'm curious to hear from you. What are some of the challenges that you've faced as a younger coach? Do you maybe view that as being an advantage in terms of being able to relate with your players more, or are you really just from a mindset where, age is really just a number?
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm in a situation where I've been in a program for so long. I do have a good sense of, kind of what it takes and experience here. And like any head coach, your first couple of years, you're going to have to establish what you can do. And so obviously there was question marks when I first got the job. And I think just kind of finding yourself and establishing that is no different at 34 or 33 than it is when you're a 45-year-old head coach. And so that's been the big thing. I think the advantage is that I know that I'm not going to have all the answers. I know that there's a lot smarter, older, more experienced coaches out there. And so my thing is I know I got to rely on my assistants, and if we all kind of come together and have that, the mindset of us all doing it together, 4 or 5 brains hopefully can outsmart some of those older, more experienced coaches.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job, you and your staff. I mean, you're not too far away. So, Coach, we got to ask you about the landscape of college athletics. It's obviously changed with NIL, the transfer portal. How do you juggle recruiting, player retention, development, using the portal as a tool to build out your roster on a year-to-year basis?
I mean, it's just you got to be able to adapt. It's definitely different right now. It's hurt when you lose some good players like I have, but it's also helped us. We've got some really good guys to the transfer portal, and it's the only way I've known it since I've been a head coach. It's kind of been my first year. We had to build a lot through the portal. Just a lot of down experience relationships, excuse me. And guys you may have recruited in the past that are in the portal, and just being able to find exactly what fits, because there's so many names. It's like speed dating. If you don't have a good feel before, you're just kind of it's tough. And we rely so much on chemistry and character within our program, we still got to rely on kind of those relationships we had initially in the recruiting process. But no, at the end of the day, the portal's a huge thing, but the retention piece is probably the most important. My first year when I got the head job, we had lost our 7 leading scorers. And so there wasn't much retention within the program. And we really had to rebuild that year. We had an incredible year. We won 18 games. And by the end of the year, we were pretty dang good. It's just a couple bad bounces in the tournament. But then last year we returned three starters that were all league last year for us. This year we returned 6 guys, 5 guys that were in the rotation. And I'm excited about that retention piece. I think that's a really, really big deal that can get lost in this portal.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the portal has completely changed the landscape for college basketball. But what we're finding is that continuity that comes with the retention piece, right? Like there are a lot of teams winning conference titles that are cutting down nets that have 5th, 6th-year seniors because of the COVID year, right? So you're able to keep some of that in-house talent, and it makes all the difference. Speaking of the portal, we are about a week away from when that portal window closes on May 11th. So obviously your roster is still a bit in flux, but based on the players that you're expecting to return next year, what excites you most about this incoming roster? Are there any guys that you're expecting to take a leap forward in the season to come?
Yeah, I mean, our program's been built on development. Like that's who we are. We've like the year we went to the tournament and we were right there with Kansas. Right, that team didn't have any transfers on it, and it didn't have anyone that had a D1 offer coming out of high school. And so that's who we are. We get guys that have a chip on their shoulder that have a high ceiling. We develop them, and that's what we've done the last couple of years. And so the returners we have a great core. Their toughness is back, and now it's like, hey, can you guys develop and add 2 or 3 points per game? Now that gets us right up to where we need. If we get a couple transfers come in, and now we're right back where we need to be points wise. And my big thing this offseason is going to be the defense. Like we return some of our best defenders, and so that's kind of what excites me the most is just that toughness, that defensive mindset, and then their ability to develop and their mindset to develop is really what excites me right now.
Hey, Coach, let's take a step back from the court. So it's technically the off season, right? Do you have any trips lined up? Any activities that you'd like to take up? Away from the hoop scene, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm excited to go travel. We got a lot of visits lined up right now, but me and my wife spend a lot of time traveling throughout the world. Usually we mix in some basketball and there's some tournaments or people to see and just mix in some of that and hopefully get out to Europe or somewhere here in a couple of weeks once this portal closes.
Yeah, it's definitely good to get out there. It feels like the college basketball off season is never ending. So can certainly appreciate traveling a little bit and trying to recharge. Coach, but before we get you out of here, want to know from your point of view, what is it you think that sets Eastern Washington apart from other programs in college basketball, right? What are the things that you do, that you identify and that you work to uphold as that identity?
I think the main thing is kind of what I talked about earlier is just the developmental mindset. Our program relies on that. We get workers, we get gym rats. The coaches are in the gym. We don't have some giant recruiting budget that we can go. We're flying around. Our guys are here, and so we're in the gym with them, getting them better, really spending time with them. And I think that's what's made us successful. And then our style of play goes hand in hand with that. It gives guys a lot of freedom. It shows in our stats. Like we had the best offense. You look on Ken Palm, like our efficiency was the best in Big Sky history since they started it, and we were the best 2-point percentage, 3-point percentage. We were rebounding it well. Got to the line. We're dead last in turnovers. So we do all these things. We allow our guys to take risks and be creative, and you know, some there's going to be mistakes that go along with that. But I just think kind of the freedom and then the allowing guys to show their development is probably kind of what sets us apart, and hopefully we can continue doing that.
Yeah, and that mindset shines right through and is evidenced by all that hardware in the background. Coach David Riley, the head man there for the Eastern Washington Eagles. Do yourself a favor, check out some Big Sky basketball and check out what is coming up here at Eastern Washington. It is absolutely a program on the rise. Coach Riley went through some of the KenPom statistics that back that up. So make sure you're keeping an eye on the Eagles this season. Coach Riley, really appreciate your time with us today.
Thanks. Go Eagles.
What a great conversation there with Eastern Washington head coach David Riley. It was really nice of him to be candid and open about the way he runs that program. I thought it was pretty fascinating, just reinforcing how focused he is on that retention and development. As a young coach, it could probably be pretty easy to just hope this is the portal and this is what we do now. And he's sticking to his guns. I got a lot of respect for that. Mike, what were some of the takeaways that you had from Coach Riley outside of the fact that he's thrown out KenPom stats?
I think that's the biggest thing that stood out to me is that, he looks at the analytics and the metrics, right? Like he mentioned how great they were. I believe they're second in the country in 2-point percentage, sub 200 defensively. So he knows that they need to clean that up. Did turn the ball over quite a bit, but you look at it and the offense was awesome. They took advantage of, the opportunities that they got and created mismatches. And they showed out. So had a really good season. Tough in there, but he's got to be proud of what he's done in his first 2 years as the head man. But I think the piece that, KenPom, sometimes people talk about it. It's like, why do we care about KenPom, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like he's using it to, use it as a tool to move forward. Eric, anything that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, it's kind of from a similar vein, but maybe a slightly different side of the coin, right? Like we talked about him being one of the youngest D1 head coaches out there, and I think there are areas like his reference to KenPom, like the fact that all he has ever known is a world where the transfer portal exists, right? Like there are things that shine through about that, and it seems like he's coming in with a very open mind and embracing those aspects and trying to find ways to leverage them to better his team, to better his program. And while that's the case, kind of like you talked about, Jay, he's still hitting on some of the tried and true aspects, right? Like a lot of coaches we heard him talk about retaining his guys, developing them, just getting another 2 or 3 points out of them next season. We've also heard him talk about how when he's in the transfer portal, he is looking for a very specific set of skills like Liam Neeson, right? So it's really interesting that, he's one of the youngest coaches, both in age and in head coaching tenure in the league, but also he's not only bringing that new perspective, he's really leaning on the things that some of the greatest in the game that we've talked to are also leveraging.
Big shout out to Coach Riley for spending some time with the boys here on One and Done. Excellent stuff as always, and hopefully next time maybe I can hop in that studio with y'all and talk to him. That was an interesting and awesome conversation to watch. If you're hanging around with us, why don't you drop us a comment? Let us know what you think about the Big Sky's best over at Eastern Washington and Coach Riley. What they're doing over there is pretty impressive. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Hit those like buttons. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it with the Macho Man elbow off the top. Do whatever you got to do to turn on those notification bells and get everything that we're dropping, including what we're moving on to now, which are 5 new commitments inside the newly expanded top 300 that Mike puts together over at drroto.com, and it is for free. No excuse not to head over to drroto.com and check it out. Gonna go ahead and start with player number 287 on that big board, Mike, with Jonathan Lawson.
Yeah, Lawson just entered the portal not too long ago. He's a 6'6" wing/guard, about 190 pounds, from Memphis, and jumped in the portal there, averaged 3 points, a little over a board, but the big thing, shot 41% from 3, and he is headed to Creighton. And we just had this conversation a couple of days ago about what Creighton's roster was going to look like. And it looks like they're wanting to add another wing that can shoot. Obviously, a great three-point shooter. He's a 4-star high school player, so he has that pedigree. I didn't see a ton of minutes last year, but really nice size at 6'6", and he's a good insurance policy in case Trey Alexander stays in the draft. So a really nice get for Coach McDermott, and looking forward to see how he kind of slots in.
No doubt about it. Creighton is just not interested in taking a step back here at all. Loading up again. Eric, I'm going to move on to you now to the number 224 player on that big board, a guard transferring within the conference, something that we have talked about recently on this show. Tell us a little bit about number 224 on Mike's big board.
Yeah, Evan Mahaffey, the 6'6", 200-pound guard out of Penn State, joins the seemingly long list of guys that are heading out of that Penn State program with the coaching turnover, and he is committed to those Ohio State Buckeyes. About we'll round up, we'll call it 3 points per game last season, about 2 rebounds. So, obviously the question here is playing time, right? He's not seeing a whole lot of action on the court to post stats like that, but like Lawson, like Mike just talked about, another big, strong kind of, guard wing hybrid. More than anything, he brings a real solid defensive mindset. And like a lot of these guys that are, switching schools this offseason, not a whole lot of action as a freshman, and another guy that was highly recruited. He has that high recruiting pedigree. So, we're going to see how much time he gets. Hopefully he should see more run for the Buckeyes. He is from Cincinnati, so you've got the home cooking narrative, right? Hopefully heading back to the state of Ohio not only raises his spirits, but also raises his playing time. And if it does, he's a guy that can make a bit of a splash for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Ohio State didn't only land Mahaffey, they also landed top 300 transfer guard Dale Bonner from Baylor to really solidify that backcourt depth as well. So nice day for guards in the Ohio State program, at least adding it up there and getting some backcourt depth there. Mike, going to come back to you now. Number 153 on your big board, making a jump up from the mid-major ranks. Tell us a little bit about Quez Glover.
Yeah, Quez Glover coming over from Samford, where he's an all-league type player for the past few years. 6 foot 180 point guard, really a scoring point guard. I mean, he averaged nearly 15 points a game. 2 assists, but stretch guy, right? 38% from 3. Only played 19 games last year, but this is just another solid pickup for head coach Mark Pope. He's a graduate transfer, so he's going to bring experience. Obviously, can light it up from 3. He should be in line for a pretty solid role. And, he's got that scoring pedigree. So, he's going to be out on the floor and giving this offense a boost here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's one of those things where you look at a guard like that, and some of these, some of these stats don't necessarily jump off the page, but, Glover, 14.5 points, 2 assists, and shoots a 3 really well. That sort of does jump off. And BYU has added yet another player through the transfer portal. And we might even talk to Coach Pope about him next week, So that would be nice to be able to get his take on Quez Glover. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and take number 56 on the top 300. That's Jaden Bradley, the guard formerly of Alabama, 6'2", 180 pounds, averaged 6.5 points, 2.5 boards, and just over 3 assists per game, is now committed to Arizona. It's been a quiet portal for Arizona so far after missing out on Nemhard, but this is big. Don't let the stats fool you. And also, stop me if you've heard this before, but this is another 5-star McDonald's All-American in the portal. We've talked about so many of those. Bradley fits that bill for sure. Showed flashes of that talent on a deep Alabama team. Obviously, we all know how well they played all season long and how highly they were ranked. Bradley was an all-SEC freshman. This is a great pickup for Arizona. Probably going to slide into that Kerr Kriisa role. Our guy, Kerr Kriisa, that we talked about a lot during DFS season. Bradley can slide right into that role and sort of pick up some of the slack there after, the Wildcats lost Kriisa. So really nice pickup for them. Like I said, another 5-star McDonald's All-American finding a new home. I would bet that there's probably 15 former McDonald's All-Americans in the portal, and I don't think I'm overshooting that. So Here we go. Drum roll, please. The number one player on the top 300 board has a new home. Mike, he's coming to the Big 12. We're going to see him play Texas a couple of times a year, at least. It's Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah, this one finally ended. There was speculation of when this was going to happen, if it was ever going to happen. But the big man, 6'10", 250 from Michigan. He had that post yesterday talking about how he wasn't returning to Michigan, which some thought might be on the board. And yeah, going to head to Kansas. I mean, head coach Bill Self, right? Strikes again. It's obviously a huge portal addition. I mean, he's number one on our top 300 for a reason. And what can you say? I mean, he's just a double-double threat. We saw him expand his game to the three-point line last year. I think he pairs really well with DeJuan Harris. DeJuan Harris' skill set is more of a pass-first guy, doesn't turn the ball over. There's some questions about Dickinson defensively. But, I think overall you've got some other guys around him that can help. Maybe KJ Adams can slide down to maybe more of a natural four position or be an energy guy off the bench. But what you're getting with Dickinson is obviously just a load on the offensive side. And, Self's had a ton of success. I mean, so many bigs. I mean, recently David McCormick, we saw how well he played in the Final Four a couple of years ago. Azubuike was great. The list just goes on. So just another great get for Kansas. Stop us if you've heard that before.
Yeah, shocking, right? And, Timberlake and Morris, obviously joining that crew are also big hits, but none bigger than the big man himself, Hunter Dickinson. All right, those are 5 key commits inside Mike's top 300, including El Numero Uno. Thanks for hanging out with us. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about Hunter Dickinson having that announcement that he had the night before. And then, Twitter, it's a disaster. Twitter's a disaster for so many reasons. But, the man got us home. Kansas is a great landing spot for him. And the Big 12 is arguably still the best conference in college basketball. So we're going to get to see Dickinson chop it up there on a regular basis. Moving on now to 5 under-the-radar mid-major additions through the transfer portal. These are all guys, if you want to call them down transfers, if you want to call them big dippers like I like to call them, dropping down from the high major to the mid-major, the little big dip. But that's not a slight at some of these players. There's a lot of talent in these 5 players. Mike, I'm going to start with you. Give us the first guy on our list here that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, so I thought this one was interesting. Symir Torrance, the guard from Syracuse, 6'3", 195 pounds. I didn't play much, 2 points, a board, almost 2 assists, but he committed to Binghamton. And, yeah, that was just kind of interesting. I didn't really see that one happening. He started his career at Marquette. He's a good ball handler, 2-to-1 assist ratio, or assist-to-turnover ratio during his career. So, he can take care of the ball and make some things happen if he's going to get the minutes. Just hasn't got much opportunity, and that's going to be a common theme as we talk about these guys. But sliding down from Syracuse, where he's a backup to Judah Mintz, and obviously Joe Girard was there, and they're just bringing in, wave after wave of guys in, right? So best bet here, slides down to Binghamton, where he should get a ton of run and get all the minutes that he can handle. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if he puts up a big old stat line next year.
Absolutely. Somebody that we'll be paying a lot of attention to. Eric, I'm going to come to you now. A guy transferring from the Big 12 over to the old Big Sky. So somebody that Coach Riley is going to have to deal a little bit with next season.
Yeah, that is KJ Allen transferring from Mike's Texas Tech Red Raiders over to Portland State, coming in at 6'6", 250. So, got some good size to him. Definitely a lot to handle. And like you keyed up there, Jay, these Vikings of Portland State might not be ready to be the top contenders in the Big Sky, but certainly going to be another nice piece and a lot for Eastern Washington and the other Big Sky teams to deal with. Allen, it's a pretty similar story to a lot of the guys that we're talking about, right? Like he's just another guy that, has really solid pedigree, and he's just, kind of looking for his opportunity, right? So In limited run, 2.5 points, 2 boards per game. He's got a pretty solid mid-range game, right? So he can stop and pull up with that mid-range J. And he is a guy that we actually splashed around with a little bit in the DFS world, right? There were a few times where guys were out for the Red Raiders and we got to go down and scoop up some KJ Allen value, right? So did flash a little bit when he had opportunity to fill in and get more playing time when guys were out. And that should certainly be the case here for his tenure with the Vikings, right? He should be able to get plenty of run and he will be a menace there in the Big Sky.
No doubt about it. And Mike's Texas Tech Red Raiders is probably my favorite running gimmick that we have going on this show right now. And we will continue that for all of time, baby. Let's head over to that huge Texas Tech supporter, Mike, right now and go to the next guy on this list, Tyrone Williams.
Absolutely, if I can collect myself here. But Tyrone Williams, the guard from Oregon, 6'5", 200. Man, we didn't get to see a lot of him last year. He led the JUCO ranks in scoring a year ago. He's a 2-time JUCO All-American. That was a tough Oregon backcourt to crack. Will Richardson was going to get his run. Keyshawn Bartholomew was there. Jermaine Cuisinart came over from South Carolina. So, just not a lot of action there. Rivaldosaurus. And now, headed to Old Dominion. So, this should be an opportunity for him to make a splash. You look at the NIT game against UC Irvine, and he had 12 points and 11 boards. So being 6'5", a wing here, should be able to do some damage. And yes, this is a great get for Old Dominion. He should make a splash in the Sun Belt, which was a lot of fun last year.
Big time stuff. A lot of these guys just couldn't get the minutes, and that's obviously a reason that a lot of these guys leave. Right? Where's my opportunity? Where's my opportunity? Willing to go from Oregon down to Old Dominion and get that run in the Fun Belt. And just for the new viewers, if you haven't been around, Mike is not a Texas Tech fan. Okay, just want to make it clear. Hate it or love it, his blood is burnt orange, okay? But obviously, if you see him on the street, just flash him whatever the Raiders say. I don't even know.
Bang, bang.
What do they say? Something with the guns up, maybe? I don't know. Actually, don't say guns up in public, please.
Yeah, don't say that.
Don't do that. Let's avoid that. I'm going to jump in here, take Jordan Davis, guard, 6'4", 200, good-sized guard, formerly of Wisconsin, 5 points, 3.5 boards a game, is now going from the Badgers to Illinois State. Didn't quite have the season at Wisconsin that we thought he might have with some of the exits there. Gonna get a chance now. Only turned the ball over 8 times. Is that right? Only had 8 turnovers all season long. You love to see that sort of ball security in a sense where, Coach Riley was talking earlier about how hard it is, when you go, and they just turn the ball over. To only have 8 turnovers all season long is pretty impressive for Davis there. A lot of two-way upside. Wanted to go somewhere again where he's going to get that opportunity, and he is going to get it all he can handle, I should say, and then some at Illinois State. Wrapping up our 5 Big Dippers tonight, Mike, go ahead with numero 5.
Yeah, last guy here, Josh Ogundele, the forward from Iowa, 6'10", 275. Similar story to the rest of the guys, right? Just about 2 points, just about 2 rebounds. Committed to Middle Tennessee State. He's a big, strong kid in the middle, but that was obviously a loaded front court that we talked about at Iowa over the past couple of years with the Murray twins, Rebracha in there. So just not a lot of run. This guy could be a force in Conference USA. We just don't know, right? Until these guys get minutes, they start playing 25 to 30 minutes a game, and all of a sudden in these leagues, they're an absolute force. So looking forward to see if Ogundele can make some things happen with Middle Tennessee State.
Absolutely, man. Solid name, too, there to end on, Ogundele. I love it. Love me a good name. Fantastic.
All J name team.
I wouldn't say he's not there. He's not there.
Getting close.
That's definitely a solid one for sure. Yeah, he might be on the all-academic all-name team or something like that, So, ladies and gentlemen, we have now wrapped up one and done for the night. Eric, I'm going to go to you first. Any final thoughts on tonight's show?
Yeah, May 11th creeps closer every single day, and yet the news never slows down. So talked about our laundry list of coaching interviews that we've already conducted, previewed a few more that we have queued up for the days and weeks to come. But in addition to all of that, we're going to be back here probably every day or so, breaking down all the news around the transfer portal, the guys that are entering, the commits. If nothing else, here in about a week's time, we should have a good picture of who is available through the portal, and then we can start assigning some of these pieces out. So appreciate everyone sticking with us and getting all of their college basketball information from One and Done.
Remember when it was like the day after the season and we were seeing all these top 25, way too early top 25 rankings, and we were just like, this is ridiculous. There's going to be 1,700 people in the portal. And we're just about there, Mike. That was a number that you threw out early on, and we may still get there. So, Mike, any final thoughts on the night?
No, I thought it was a great interview with Coach Riley. Appreciate his time again. All these coaches taking some time out of their, I would say, off season, but like most of these coaches have said, the portal's kind of changed that. But we're here to bring you, all the action, all the news. If you missed some of our other shows, we're talking about how some of these transfer classes look. We're going to go into high school recruiting classes that are coming. We didn't even talk about, these 5- and 4-star guys that are going to be coming in. We'll break down some of those classes. There's been some movement. NIL's kind of shaking up everything. My final top 300 board, transfer board, is going to come out on May 15th. So be on the lookout for that. Worked really hard on that. We all, congregated and, came up with the best board that we think of guys that are out there. But if you didn't make that top 300, those other 1,400 guys, man, wouldn't be surprised if one or two of those pop off. Every year they do. And other guys obviously being major contributors just because you're not inside that top 300. You find the right place, you find the right fit, find the right system, it can make all the difference.
No doubt about it. And you found One and Done tonight. We appreciate you hanging out with us. I am the conductor of that GSM train. My name is Jay Heinrich. Hit me up on Twitter at Dr. William Cannon for shit posting, baseball talk, video games. And just to let you know, we sleep and never worry, baby. We're going all off season long, bringing you the heat. That's what we do here. My brothers in basketball flanking me on each side. The Baron of Bread himself, Eric the Blue. You can hit him on them Twitter streets at FantasyNav, Eric Romoff. El Capitan, the captain of the Green Screens Media ship, Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Make sure you smash those like and subscribe buttons. We appreciate you. Have a nice day, and let's get this bread.
Get it.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.